welcome everyone. It's my pleasure to welcome you to Redefining South African Food with our very own South African Michelin star chef, Wandile Mabaso. This promises to be an intimate and interactive evening of fine dining. Now today we presented with certainly interesting times as this virtual experience has now become the new norm. And if the recent headlines haven't sent most of us into a tailspin, the lockdown has certainly caused us to adjust to new circumstances and fresh ways of living, doing business, and taking necessary precautions. I hope that this evening will give us a moment to pause, unwind, break bread, and spend some time giving thanks to you, our clients. We really, truly value your ongoing support. So please sit back, relax, pour yourself a glass of wine, and enjoy an interactive evening of fine dining with us. We also encourage you to engage with Wandile by sending us your questions or comments by using the chat feature below. I would now like to welcome our guest for tonight, Michelin chef Wandile Mabaso. Welcome, Wandile. And as background, Wandile is a Soweto-born chef who trained at a Michelin 2-star rated restaurant in Paris and has recently opened a fine dining restaurant called LOUW, French for the creative, in Johannesburg. A warm welcome also to my fellow colleagues who are joining the discussion, CHRISTELLE and CAREN RENNIE. And at this point, CHRISTELLE will take us through the theme from the evening. Good night, and I hope you enjoy yourselves.
Thank you, Andrew, and welcome Wandile, Karen, and guests. Wonderful to be here with you this evening. As the theme for this evening, we're talking about redefining South African food, and there's no better person than Wandile Mabaso with us this evening. Wandile, your food has been described as redefining the local fine dining experience, guided by your childhood experiences and the South African cultures. You're well known for your culinary techniques that include fermenting chakalaka in beetroot juice, using samp as a risotto base, and whipping amabele, or sorghum, as most of we know it, into velvety, smooth ice cream. Yummy. Once again, Wandile, it's wonderful to share this evening with you. And it's wonderful to have you here. Wandile, won't you take us through the meal that you prepared for us this evening and that our guests are enjoying?
Okay, so obviously tonight's special for Citadel. And obviously Tarisha gave me the challenge of creating something that's modern and South African inspired. So therefore we had decided to go for a lamb shank, which is something that we all love to have during this time of the year in winter. So the lamb shank is cooked in sous vide. So that's also integrating some French techniques in it. So sous vide, it's cooked in a water bath where we vacuum seal it and we cook it for 24 hours. So it's literally slow cooking, long nights and shorter days for winter. And after there, we then glaze it with its own sauce, which is made from the ribs of the lamb. And we're serving that with something that we're all familiar with in the country, which is samp. So the samp is actually cooked in a chakalaka mousse. So we literally cook the chakalaka and blend it into like a puree, but a runny puree. And then we fold that into the samp. So when you taste the samp, you'll taste the flavors of chakalaka. And then we also finish with a bit of apple cider vinegar as well. And then for the dessert, we decided to go with something that's more consumed during the summer. But since people haven't been out and, you know, they haven't seen much of outside or haven't been out to restaurants, we decided to use it coconut. So it's actually 70% dark chocolate, which we mold into a coconut. So it actually looks like a coconut. And inside, we put the coconut, the actual coconut milk. So the concept is actually you take the coconut and you break it up, and then you regroup it back up again. So we literally take the coconut, open it, take the meat, and then we put it on the fake coconut shell, which is chocolate. And then we cook rice, and then the rice we cook with lemongrass and some herbs and some lemon. with milk and a little bit of sugar and spices. And so this represents obviously our classic famous rice pudding. And the flavors are more like milk tart flavors. And then after that, we blend the rice. So it's like a thick paste. And then we put it in a canister, which aerates it, and then we foam it out. So that's how you find that texture that you see in there. And then inside there, we've got some seasonal berries that have also been hidden in there. So we've got our raspberries, our blueberries, a little bit of strawberry. And then the flavor that you will taste on the whole coconut is lemon flavor. So we make a lemon confit, which is lemon peels, which are sliced out of the lemon. And then we blanch it about 3 times. We blanch it and then cool it down, change the water. And this is to obviously take the bitterness out of the lemon peel. And then we cook it in syrup with some spices as well. Very slow, just simmering for about 2 hours. And then the peel is very, very soft. And then we blend it together with the same syrup. And that syrup is infused with the citrus flavors. And so when you taste that dessert, you'll actually feel the actual sculpture or the actual citrus flavors that are coming out there. And then once we go on the dessert as well, I will show you exactly how it's been prepared. I've got a sample here to show you exactly how it came about and everything. And then in between the main course and the dessert, I'll also give you a bit of a virtual tour of my kitchen and the restaurant. We do have guests here tonight. So this is obviously to try and make you feel as much as possible that you are out in the restaurant.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Wandile. What I want you to do now is I think everyone has received the meal. Everyone, if you haven't received your meal, if you have any comments, please will you type us some comments and questions in the question and answer box, because we'll actually respond to that. And then Wandile, what we'd like you to do is, please will you take us through a virtual tour of your restaurant. We know that you're very proud of your restaurant. It's been perfectly designed to suit your requirements. So please, if you can take your laptop and show us all what it looks like, shows the artwork, shows your beautiful lighting that you have. We're looking forward to it.
Okay, let me take you through it. So where we're going to start now is in front of the dining room, also facing the kitchen. And if you come here, this is our pastry section here. As you can see, our pastry chef is busy plating some beautiful pastries here. And then back in the kitchen, on this side, we've got our cooks who are making truffle potato flan. So as you can see, literally slicing the potato very, very, very thin, and then cutting it in round circles like that. And then you come and scale it literally on the mashed potato puree, which is infused with black truffle. And then we finish that in the oven. And that's going with our beautiful short rib that you see over there. And this short rib is special because this is actually a few short. It's a cross between Wagyu beef and also the Nguni cow. So we actually call it Wanguni. And then over here is our sous vide machine. This is a machine that we use to cook your lamb shank that you probably have in front of you now. And we set the temperature at 80 degrees and we leave it for 24 hours, literally in a water bath like so. And then your lamb shank was literally cooked like this. Cooked in a water, in a vacuum bag. So this is beautiful because what this does, it keeps the moisture in. So you don't lose any moisture. And it's also precise cooking as well. And you don't, no flavors escape, no scents escape either. So everything gets trapped in, which then concentrates the beautiful flavors. All right, now I'm just going to take you through our dining room. And this is we have a lot of paintings there. This is a painting on our kitchen. So this is my two mentors that I worked with, one in New York and one in Paris. And obviously that's me in the middle there. And then just to go into our beautiful bar. So we are very much big into art. So we change our art every month in the restaurant. And the art is also for sale. And we only take 10% of the total sale. So we really, really, really assist and support all artists. And we deal with artists that are unknown, very unknown artists, but very talented. So you'll never have something like a Nelson Magamo here, which is too commercial. And then just to take you into our dining room and the beautiful piece of art which I'd like to share with people. So this is a huge art piece. It's about 3 meters by 2 meters. And it's actually an art piece about Winnie Mandela. What's interesting is that this art piece was sold to somebody in Europe, and the artist is very picky, and he decided to ask for it to come back because he said he doesn't want to sell Mama Winnie to Europeans. So he decided to bring it here in our restaurant, and we had it for 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, it was literally bought. So this was bought about 3 weeks ago. And this was sold for 500,000.
Wow.
So I think it's actually phenomenal that that an artist can sell a piece of that size during this COVID time. So we are very happy with that. And then we've got our guest here, which I don't want to bother. And then just our decor here, and more art. More art. And by the way, our decor, as you see it here, it was all designed by a gentleman by the name of Donald Nomalo, who I think is probably the best interior designer in the country. And you can see what he did beautifully here in our bar is the 3D tiles. So if you look at this, as you walk here, they change shape. So these tiles are actually granite.
Wow, it's beautiful.
Yeah, as you can see them, were imported from Italy. So he wanted to make a statement as soon as you walk in the restaurant, just a huge statement of how different we are and that we are here to stay. Yeah. As you can see here, it was designed in the form of a theater. So it's almost like you're watching a Broadway show where everything is dark in the dining room, and the only light that comes up is in the kitchen. So everybody is almost like watching a show in the kitchen. So he designed it like that. And I think we've received some pretty good reviews about that.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Wandile. Wandile, there was still some attendees that haven't received their meals. So I want to actually ask you, because the main feature is the meals that you've prepared. And if you can please, the initial discussion that you had about the meal that you prepared, if you can just run through that again and the ingredients that you used for the main and for the dessert, please.
Okay, so for the main course, as I mentioned, we've got the lamb shank. So that's actually a special lamb as well, because it's a breed between the Karoo lamb and the lamb from Soweto-born in Namibia. And we cook the lamb sous vide, as I showed you. It's on the water bath with in plastic vacuum sealed, and it's cooked for 24 hours, very slow cooking at 80 degrees. And then we serve it with a stew or a ragu made from samp. So the samp is actually infused. If you see, the color is nice and yellow. Actually infused with a chakalaka, where we cook the chakalaka on the side, and then we make it very runny, and then we blend it into a puree, and we fold the chakalaka into the actual samp and bean ragu. And then for the main course, let me just get it here. We've got a beautiful a coconut sculpture. So the coconut sculpture that you should have in front of you is this. So it's literally, this is 70% dark chocolate. What we do is you take a balloon, you blow it up, and then you start tempering the chocolate. So you get the temperatures quite right. And then you dip the balloon into the actual chocolate, and then you have to cool it down immediately. And then you do that about 5 times just to create a nice thick layer here. And then inside, as you can see over here, is actual coconut. So we deconstructed the coconut, took out the actual coconut milk, meat, and put it in there, and then cooked the rice with the coconut water, and finished it with lemongrass and some lime. It's also got lemon confit, and inside is some hidden seasonal berries as well.
Wonderful. Thank you, Wandile. And now that we all had exercise walking through your restaurant, thank you for that. I want to go over to some of the questions. And looking at the meal that you prepared, Wandile, it clearly takes time. You know, to actually create good stuff takes time. And we are actually dying to hear, you know, what training you received and what got you started as a chef.
Well, it's been a long story. So I started cooking at the age of 10. I'm from Soweto. I grew up in Soweto with a single mom. So she was working really hard and late hours, so we had to find a way to actually survive. Because you know, we can't eat sandwiches every day and every night. So we started with eggs, myself and my brother. We went into rice, and then we graduated into something harder. And then eventually it became a hobby, you know, and then after a while it became a passion. And then, you know, in the trick, I mean, there was no other choice but to go to culinary school. There was nothing else I was looking at. So therefore I went to hotel school instead, because my dad didn't approve of a black man cooking back in those days. You know, it wasn't like it is today, where there's food channels, food networks, and you know, you see a chef that looks like you, that's from the same area as you, and you can relate. So for us, all we saw was Jamie Oliver, you know. So it was quite difficult, but ended up going to hotel school, and then after hotel school, I did my internship in Italy, and I worked in some private cruises in the Mediterranean for a while. Came back to South Africa, did my culinary degree. After my culinary degree, I actually didn't even finish school. Some scouts got us in school, and they took some of us to the US to go work there. And the school decided to pass me, thank God. And then I spent 1 year in Miami and decided to move to New York City. And I ended up spending 5 years in New York, where I trained in classical French cuisine, and trained in very good restaurants, some 3-star Michelin, some 2-star Michelin, with some really, really talented chefs as well. One who I call my mentor, who is Olivier Reginanti. And after that, I met Alain Ducasse, the godfather of cooking, the French chef, and he offered me a position in his restaurant in Paris. And after 5 years in New York, I had to pack up and then move to Paris and sort of like learn French as much as I can, as quick as I can. And then from there, I decided to come back here in 2017 after 2 years in Paris. And coming back, now we opened up this restaurant, which was last year. And so far, so good, until our friend COVID decided to come join us.
Wandile, a very warm welcome from my side as well, and welcome to everybody. I must say it's so fantastic to be on this call with you. I'm a passionate foodie myself and a budding cook, so I hope I'm going to learn some tips from you this evening. It was a colourful story you told us, and you've been known that you've redefined the local fine dining by taking proudly South African staples and refining them. You've spoken about, fermenting chakalaka and beetroot and using samp as a risotto base. So we'd love to know more about your culinary process, what really inspires you. And I'm also dying to know what's your favorite dish. Do you even have one?
Yeah, so what inspires me is I think nature and everything around me. You obviously get to different stages in your career when you cook. It's first a craft. After a craft, it becomes an art. Once you master the craft, it becomes an art. And then when it's an art, that's when you're at a stage where you can actually play around with food like that. And you can express yourself using food, but you have to get to that level to actually end up doing that. But once you're at that level, it's all about your background, where you're from, how you feel at this point, the seasons. Obviously, you have to cook by seasons. Perfect example is now we have citrus everywhere. Citrus is in season. The reason why citrus is in season at this time is because nature knows that we need all the vitamin C. So it's very important to actually listen to nature and cook according to nature. Yeah, but I'm just inspired by things that happen around me, people, most importantly, ingredients as well. If I see something new and it intrigues me, I try to figure it out. And also being from South Africa and being from Soweto, when I came back into the country, I was actually disappointed to find everybody sort of following trends that were happening in the US and Europe, and trying so hard to be like them. The style of dining and the way they serve food, and obviously the type of food they serve,
Yeah.
And for me, it didn't make sense when we have so many cultures, and we've got, we've got a desert in the north, we've got two oceans that meet at the bottom. We've got the Indian Ocean, we've got a history of Indians, Cape Malay, the Buddhas, the Dutch, the English as well. It's like a concoction of culture, but nobody's telling the story of culture, so that inspired me extremely, because it's an opportunity to try and do something that actually makes sense, because the guys were serving things like ostriches, I don't know who grew up eating ostrich, so and infusing everything with rooibos. So we decided to take it more advanced and make it more technical in how we tell a story about our South African heritage through food.
Love that. And your favorite dish? Do you have one?
Oof, that is a very tough question.
Should we leave that?
If I had to choose, I think maybe a baguette and olive oil or salted butter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's probably my favorite. It's my favorite now because when we're in Paris working in a 3-star Michelin restaurant, we got so busy. We would cook for like 20 hours. You don't have time to eat. So you literally end up eating some of the bread that's extra, that was extra from the service. And all you do is you literally just take it and just dip it in oil or dip it in butter, and just, we literally ate to nourish, just to keep going. So it's difficult. I don't have a favorite dish. We change the menu every week in this restaurant. Before, we used to change the menu every day, where we used to design the menu literally in the market, according to what I see in the market, what's fresh. And I think between 2017 to now, we've probably created close to 500 dishes. So we create a dish to a point where we refine it and change it and refine it to a point where it can't be refined, and then we move on. So I don't really hold on to dishes like that.
I believe it's been quite a disruptor in your industry. When you spoke to us previously on another call about all these, changing the dishes so regularly. Do you think that's been the major success factor of your restaurant? Keeping this menu alive and changing it?
So. Yeah, I really think so. you know, the name of the restaurant is Le Creatif, and that means the creative in French. Used in French, obviously, because of my cooking background, but the whole idea was to, you know, literally push and encourage as much creativity as possible, because I think through creativity is how you actually get better and find new ways of doing things or discover things. So creativity for us was quite important to a point where we actually make our own plates as well.
That is beautiful.
So these plates here I actually made in Cape Town in Woodstock. So it's a collaboration between myself and an artist called Wandile Mabaso. And you can see my name is on the back there. So, and we sell these plates as well, you know, so we make our own plates, and we really try and push creativity. Even our napkins that we use are actually made by another visual artist who literally drew on it. And then even our cocktail menu as well, which is literally on canvas, and, you know, instead of having the normal menu with paint on it of what you're actually supposed to be getting. So the whole idea was to push creativity, and the biggest challenge, obviously, with a lot of restaurants is that people get tired of having the same thing over and over. And for us, people that like to eat out, like that eat out at least 3 times a week, or maybe 5 times a month, can literally keep coming back here, because the next week they come, we'll find something new, and then the following week they'll find something new. So I think it's been a key factor for us.
CHRISTELLE.
Thank you, Wandile. What I want to ask you is, and we're getting a lot of questions that I'm seeing on our site. One of the big questions that is asked is, where exactly is the restaurant? Now, I can answer that from the website, that it is in the 52 Hobart Road, Bryanston, Sandton. But I don't know if you've got anything to add to it, Wandile. No,
yes,
I think
so it's a small hidden gem on Hobart Grove in Bryanston, on Hobart Road. So those that know the big Rockets, the big bar, so we are in the same complex as there, but we are very hidden. We're literally at the top. If you look at it, you think it's an office, which is a good thing. You know, it reminds you of places in Manhattan or Brooklyn, where you go in like a narrow alley and you find this small door there, and then you just open it into a completely different world. And that's exactly what it is. And I just want to say, we had one person that doesn't eat meat, and one vegetarian. So I just want to take them through what they're actually having. So the person that's having the chicken the chicken is a chipotle chicken. So chipotle is like a jalapeno pepper from Mexico that is dried, smoked, and hydrated. And then it turns into a chipotle. It turns red in color. And then you have to hydrate it back. And then we make a garlic paste where we put garlic in oil and simmer it. And then once the garlic is cooked, we blend it together into a paste. And then we mix the chipotle in there. Literally, I'll marinate for the chicken overnight. And then we also cook it sous vide in the machine that I just showed. And after that, we grill it and we smoke it with hay. And then we put a salsa verde on top, which is a sauce made from fresh coriander. And that's also served with the same ragu of samp. And then we also have, for vegetarians, we decided to keep the same ragu of samp because it's very good as a vegetarian option. We've just added extra vegetables in there, obviously, to add some substance to it. And you probably see something like this. So this is a bean, actually. It's a bean. So the bean is, let me just try and, here's the bean.
That's better. Thanks.
This is a bean. So what we do is we ferment it in beetroot juice. So that's why it turns like this bright red color. And I just want to tell all the people tonight, our guests, that this meal should be a nice COVID antioxidant for you, because we have got we cook. Listen, we don't even cook with normal oil. We have to infuse our oil with herbs and garlic, literally. And everything that we do, we use herbs, rosemary, we use spices as well. And you know, we blend our own spices. We don't use the powdered spices. We buy the actual corn and the actual seeds, and we toast them and we crush them ourselves. So it's very packed with nutrients. It is a COVID shot.
Wandile, you're getting some fantastic responses from our clients. The meal is superb. It's delicious. Thank you. So compliments to the chef. Wandile, another question from our side. So I read somewhere that one of the first things you add to your grocery trolley is garlic. Can you tell me why?
How beautiful is this?
Oh, wow.
Love it.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So
Wandile, is that the meal?
No, that's not the meal that they're having. So they've got a special menu for themselves. This is the menu at the restaurant. So it's Wagyu short rib, cross between a Wagyu beef and an Nguni cow. We actually call it Wanguni, with caramelized onion, with the potato flan. Under it is the truffle mashed potato. And then we've got seasonal gooseberries, we've got the beans that I showed you, and some herbal oil.
Geez, that's a piece
Looks
of art.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Wandile,
So yes, you were asking?
Karen was asking about the garlic, but before we ask about the garlic, I want to ask you, there's a question that we got, just to actually, because people are eating their meals right now, so I think it's relevant. The question was, what was the dark brown sauce with the lamb made? So they want your secrets about the dark brown sauce with a lamb.
So the dark brown sauce. So what we do is I buy the ribs or the neck, and I cut it into pieces, and I literally I first make a chicken stock, and then I take the chicken stock, and then the second stage is the lamb stock using the lamb bones, and then straight after that would be the lamb braising liquid. So the braising liquid is the brown, but on the third stage, it's not as intense as you have it there now. On the third stage, after we cook the lamb neck, we strain it and we keep that liquid. And that's the liquid that we use to braise your lamb shank. And so then after we put it on the sous vide machine where it cooks for 24 hours, that very same liquid, which already has got layers and layers of flavor, from chicken to lamb stock to then lamb braising liquid, is now getting more flavor of the lamb from the shank. And then we then take that out. And then what we do is we take chicken feet. Normally I use veal trotters, or pork trotters, or chicken feet. But in this case, I use chicken feet because obviously some people don't eat meat, and some don't touch pork and so on. So what the chicken feet actually does, it gives it the gelatine, the natural gelatine. So the natural gelatine is literally, it's almost like a sticky flavor, it's that sticky texture that you feel in your mouth. So what that really is, it keeps the flavor on your palate for longer. So you literally have to rub it out of your tongue. And that's probably why they're feeling that flavor intense. But after we've cooked it in this water bath here, you then have your lamb shank, which looks like this. Okay, and you can see the liquid that's in there. So when we take out the liquid, we then put it back into the stove, and then we do what is called the reduction. So you simmer it slowly and you let it reduce So it steams out. The more it steams out, it means obviously the moisture is leaving, and it's going lower and lower and lower and lower. And what that does, it also concentrates the flavor. And then once it gets to a nice consistency, like you have it there, we then use that as the sauce. And that's your dark sauce you have there.
We're getting lots of compliments on in our chat box here. The lamb is delicious, well done. They want to know, can they keep the plate? You can keep the meal, they want to keep the plate when they come to the restaurant.
Well, the plates are for sale, that's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
Wonderful.
Wandile, can I ask you to just tell me why garlic is so important in your cooking?
So there's actually about 4 or 3 things that for me are essential. Not only in taste, but also for nutrition. And garlic is definitely one of them. Obviously, herbs, rosemary, thyme, lime leaves, bay leaves, things like that are very important. The garlic is so important. It adds a whole new dynamic to any meal that you have. I think so. But a lot of people don't understand how to use garlic, and how we use garlic is you need to understand its chemical composition. So the garlic is actually got a chemical in there. And a lot of people, especially those that like to have crushed garlic with oil and cheese, and the reason why you have that strong smell after that is because of the chemicals that are in there. So you have to literally cook the garlic slowly. You have to release those chemicals, and literally when I'm cooking, I smell, and that's how I know that the actual chemicals have gone out. And that chemical reaction, together with something like especially something with umami, like a meat product, it just elevates it to another level. So it's all about the chemical reaction, but also most importantly, for at the end of the day, you know, the basis of us eating, because us enjoying food now is something that we've created, but the basis of eating was us to nourish. So we shouldn't forget that, and that's why I think things like garlic are very important at this stage.
Thank you.
Wandile, you know, your food has been described, you know, in many media reports and in your interviews as meticulous, expressive, colorful, and at the highest level of cooking. And I know that you've trained in Paris, and I'm dying to find out and to hear tell me some stories of what you experienced in Paris, and how was it different to South Africa? Because actually you dealt in a different language, you dealt with different people, different cultures. So if you could share with us a story of, you know, what you experienced in Paris.
Wow, yeah, so I can probably write about 10 books. The experiences have been, you know, like if you came to me and said, here's 10 million rand right now, or even 20 million rand, I wouldn't sell those experiences for anything. I'm actually quite lucky to have experienced that. So the first time I went out the country was in Italy. And obviously excited to travel and working in luxury cruises. Obviously I got to see the luxury part of things. I got to see the international standards of how things are done and what is possible. And also I got to see actually how you can take this chef profession to another level. I mean, our executive chef, for example, there in Italy was probably getting over 100,000 rand a month, you know, and these are things that we didn't know. So that experience actually opened up my eyes. And then traveling into different regions. I mean, we used to travel around the Mediterranean, south of France, up in Barcelona, and around the coast of Italy, Amalfi, Sorrento, Portofino. It just teaches you about other people's cultures, how they eat, how they view food. And then also going to Florida and staying in Miami. was a whole nother experience because, you know, Miami is like in the middle there between the Caribbean and everything else. So I was working mostly with Jamaican chefs. I was working mostly with Haitian chefs from Haiti. I was also working with a lot of Cuban chefs. And these guys would literally teach me about their own cuisines, and they would, for staff meal, they would also prepare how their grandmothers prepare it, for example, in Jamaica or in Cuba. And that also opened up my eyes. I was like, wow, so other people eat like this, you know. And then moving to New York City, you know, I worked at a French restaurant, and obviously trained in French cuisine, which for me was a blessing because I don't think I'd be able to cook like this if I didn't get that kind of training. And then moving into a French Korean restaurant in Williamsburg in Brooklyn was phenomenal, where I joined a chef who also came from a 3-star Michelin background, and he was Korean, but he was trained in French cuisine. He decided to open up his own restaurant, specializing in Korean and French fusion. And it was literally his restaurant, his dining room was the size of my kitchen. And his kitchen was bigger than his dining room. And we only had a counter, almost like a bar counter. And we had 15 guests at a time. It was insane. I think he was ahead of his time at that point. And we'd have a line of like 100 meters, because, you know, New Yorkers would wait and wait for the next table. So that itself taught me something else, and actually the business of cooking, seeing how the chef is actually running his own business as well. And then moving into a Japanese French fusion restaurant, also in Manhattan. You know, another game changer because the owner was quite wealthy, and for her, I think it was a vanity project. She literally spent like $10 million US on her interior design. The plates that we plated on were like, they cost more than the food. You know, you're talking about $1,000 a plate, you know. So with that being said, she allowed us to use, and at that time I was already in the level of a sous chef, and she allowed us to literally order and buy anything from across the world. So we would have like sea urchin coming from California, we would have Wagyu meat coming from Japan, we would have Australian Wagyu meat all the way from Australia. We literally have the best. And what this did is actually exposed me to a lot of ingredients that I never knew, or working in a normal restaurant I'd never come across because they wouldn't afford that, you know. And I think at that point, that's when I actually started cooking for the wealthy, you know, because even now the type of food that we do is usually appreciated and understood by the wealthy. We have traveled, we have had this type of food also in the south of France and so on. Obviously, other people do like it as well, but those are people that come once in a while, you know, like birthday or anniversary. But the real people, the wealthy ones that come 3 times a week or 6 times a month. And then obviously I then moved to Maison Kaiser. At Maison Kaiser, I was executive sous chef. This is about 3 years after I came into New York. So I think I moved up pretty fast. I was executive sous chef for a French restaurant group that had just come from Paris and was entering the market in the US. And they wanted to open a lot more other restaurants like that, like French patisserie and bistro style French food. And we actually opened up 7 restaurants in 2 years during that time. So that experience for me was more on a senior position, responsibility, you know, understanding how the business works, understanding how to create a restaurant, what to do, what to look out for, how to choose a team, how to put a team, how to put systems together, I mean, even now I don't cook with recipes. Everything I cook on my head, you know. Nobody in my kitchen uses a recipe. We cook from understanding, smelling, looking. So it taught me all of that stuff, all of the admin stuff as well. And then moving to Paris straight after that, was another game changer because, when I went to Paris, the chef there, Alain Ducasse, who actually has 21 Michelin stars, he's got the most Michelin stars in the world. It taught me a whole new level of cooking, the quality, the consistency, the dedication, the passion. As you know, French chefs are passionate, so passionate to a point where some of them even commit suicide if they don't get a 3-star Michelin, for example. It's that hectic. But Alain Ducasse then made me ambassador of French gastronomy in South Africa. Something that the French ministry put together because they felt like French cuisine was starting to die down, and they wanted to have people to expose French cuisine in different continents. So they put me through a program in College of France, and with that I got to travel. I mean, I went to Normandy. I was in the cheese factories. You know, cheese that was being made in the 1600s are still made the same way today. I would see how the people are making them in Normandy, the Camembert factory. Then I'll go to Burgundy and, you know, look at where Chardonnay comes from, where Pinot Noir comes from, what makes it that good, the terroir and everything else. And obviously we went to Champagne. I was very lucky because I went to Louis Roederer. So Louis Roederer, they make CHRISTELLE. And we went through the whole tour, and I did tastings with the cellar master, the actual guy who makes CHRISTELLE. And I got to taste some beautiful CHRISTELLEs, some of them older than myself. So like that experience for me, I think that experience for me was the one that put the icing on the career.
So Wandile, I hope you're going to be doing a recipe book at some stage. We'll see. You said you're going to write a book.
Recipe book, I don't know.
Not for you.
Yeah, no.
Anyway, what I want to... Yeah. A book rather. I just want to bring it back to South Africa very quickly, and just on the subject of mentorship. On a previous call, you know, you made the comment, you know, when you're black and from Soweto, all you see is Jamie Oliver, and I'm just interested to know your thoughts around mentorship for black chefs in our country, and where you think the upskilling needs and what needs to be done, in your opinion.
Yeah. So I think we definitely have a long way to go. There's a few issues. One of them being there's a lot of chefs or schools out there that have put out these training programs, and actually a lot of them get money from the government to train people. So you would have like 20 people working in your kitchen, and you could say that you are literally training and grooming them, and the government will pay you something each month for them. So the government literally pays their salary. So obviously we've got a huge culture of corruption, and it's also happening at that level with the schools and everything, because you know they've literally turned it into only a business. There's no nurturing, there's no uplifting, there's no grooming of any sort.
I hear you.
So the guys would then take the money and the guys would train. A person would spend literally 2-3 years in someone's kitchen or somewhere, and would come out as if they just come out of culinary school, or sometimes even worse than that. You know, so that's the first problem, and I think the second problem is the idea that the popular culture has put out there of what a chef is, because now you get a lot of kids that go to especially expensive schools, and culinary school can be very expensive. You pay something like over 100,000 per annum, you know, and it's a 3-year program, and it's 300,000 only for a person to come out of school and figure out that this is too tough for them, it's not for them. So they've depicted this picture that, you know, it's glamorous and you can be on TV, and all you need to do is go to culinary school and then you're a chef. And then we've also got the culture in the country where there's a lot of people are not patient. They want instant gratification. So those are the three biggest problems that the chefs, the young chefs, are facing right now. Where the right way should be that, like we started, where you train. I mean, you go to school and then you do your internship. When you do your internship, you shouldn't even be paid. I mean, the kids now already want to be paid. You know, the guy can't even cook a medium rare steak, but now he wants to be paid. So the guys should spend time, and firstly, they should choose the right kitchens to work in. And that's extremely difficult in the country. You know, Cape Town is one thing, but even in Cape Town, I don't think there's enough gastronomy restaurants to train everyone. You know, Joburg is quite bad when it comes to that. You literally can count the restaurants in one hand. You know, and it's not enough for probably millions of students that want to train. So guys end up going to work in a pizza joint. Imagine paying 300,000 for culinary school, and then you're going to flip burgers, or you end up at a hotel, and you're doing buffets. And so those are the problems. The guys should find the right place to train. They should spend enough time there. They should be patient. They should understand cooking first before they start wanting to Instagram everything. And then from there, I think travel is very important. Like I said to you, for me, it opens up eyes. There's no textbook that could have taught me what I've learned through my travels. So once you travel, you see how other people cook. You see the cultures, the food cultures of other places. You know, it evokes your brain, and you start to think about your own culture, and then you start to think differently about food. You know. And then they have to keep working, you know, keep working and work as hard as you can. You know, don't focus on the money, don't focus on the big price yet. Just enjoy the journey, keep working, because the more work you do, the more you become better at your craft. And once you become good at your craft, that's when you can determine how much you're really worth.
Yeah, Wandile, thank you so much for sharing that with us. Thanks for letting us into your profession and for experiences. I'm getting amazing replies, you know, on the food. They say, well done, good food. You've got a wonderful CV, Wandile. They love the food. And I've got two questions, and I know we're running out of time, but there's two specific questions. And because you're the chef and you know exactly how you've done it, they want us to just actually share a little bit more about the dessert again, and also the bread rolls, and if they sourdough. So if you can just let us in on the dessert again and the bread rolls.
Oh, yes. Yeah, so obviously we decided to add the tradition of French dining. You always have to have bread, obviously. So that's why we added the bread. We bake the bread over here ourselves. And we've got the sourdough, and then we've got the French baguette, and then we've got our butters, which are also flavored. I think you have the olive butter and truffle butter. And then we've got in the little jar can is actually butter made from chicken liver. And when you actually eat it, you feel that it's quite spicy. So we don't add any spices. We add the actual pepper, the jalapeno pepper in it. So it gives you that smoky spiciness, but also smooth as a butter. And what else do we have? The dessert, right? You wanted to know more about the dessert?
Yes, please.
Okay, so the dessert.
I think Wandile is just arranging someone to show us the dessert.
I think we're all going to have to get to the restaurant sometime soon, CHRISTELLE.
Yeah, sorry.
Karen, I can see that there's a question, Wandile, about something else while you're getting that ready. I can see that there's questions about orders, but we'll cover that just after you've explained the dessert to us.
Yes. So the dessert, came from an idea of obviously keeping it South African. So we went for something that's like a rice pudding, but we were thinking, how can we fashion it? So we thought, okay, we're gonna turn it into a coconut because you know, coconuts are so big here. But obviously, these coconuts are special because I think they're the best one. They come from Maputo, so we get these from Maputo. And we take a balloon, right? And you blow the balloon into a dome. And then you take 70% dark chocolate and you melt it and you temper it, which tempering means that we are playing with the temperature. We're playing with the temperature to have it the right temperature where it can dry when it dries, when you need it to dry, and it can stay runny when you need it to stay runny. And then we dip the balloon in there and then we dry it immediately, and we do that about 10 times to create layers and layers. As you can see here, the thick layers around here of chocolate.
Wow.
Okay, and then from there we take the coconut meat on the actual coconut, we take it out and then we cook that in lemongrass and then we put it back here. So we construct the coconut back. That's what you see here, the white on the rim.
Sure.
And then the coconut water, we take it and we cook the rice in the coconut water with also spices and lemongrass. And then we blend it into the paste that you have in here. And then we add some fresh berries as well. And the lemon or citrus flavors that you are tasting in there is made from lemon confit. Taking the peels of the lemon and blanching them about 5 times to cook out the bitterness. And then after that, you cook them slowly in toasted spices and syrup for about 2 hours. We call it confit, so very slow cooking. And then once it's cooked, we then use that syrup to drizzle around the actual dessert. So we call this a coconut sculpture. So it's supposed to look like a real coconut. And if you can see here, we actually brush it with an actual brush to give it that rustic coconut look.
Wow.
Yes. And then also what I sent out was the waters. By the way, very important. So the water that we sent out is Voda. The Voda, yes, it's not South African. It's coming from Serbia. It's coming from a small town in Serbia where the town has the longest living people on earth. So they have the longest life expectancy on earth. And it's believed that it's due to this water. So this water is unfiltered. It's got no chemicals whatsoever. It's spring water that comes out from the ground into barrels and then into the bottle. And it's NSF certified as well. So that means it gets tested every day across the world to make sure that the standards are still there. And it's got a lot of mineral properties, this water. It helps with, if you get bloated, it helps with fatigue. Like literally, it's almost like medicine. And this water, we are actually we have the distribution rights and ownership of this water in Africa. And it's clean water. Like if you drink this water for a day or for a week, you won't drink any other water. And we use this water here in the restaurants as well. This is to clean your palate. You don't need your palate to be having some aftertaste of sparkling water and some chlorine or anything like that.
Wonderful, Wandile. We've had a wonderful evening with you, but just before we end off, I'd just like you to share the services that you're offering currently, you know, from your restaurant and in your restaurant. And then we're going to close the session.
You can go on our website, www.lecreatif.co.za. It has our menu. We're offering 3 types of services, and this information is also on our website. We're offering private chefs that we place in people's homes. We've actually had a lot of requests for that, obviously because of these lockdowns and restrictions, and also people being scared to go out. So we've literally placed about 3 chefs now permanently in private homes. But what we actually do is you can hire out a chef for the night. So we design the menu and they prepare everything from our restaurant and they'll finish it off in your home. So you'll get the same experience, but in your home with a private chef. I mean, these guys would be one of the guys from my kitchen. And then we also do deliveries. It's a limited menu. I think it's about 8 items, but suitable for delivery. And then we've got our sit-down menu, which is a 4-course tasting menu, which changes obviously every week. So those are our 3 services, and I think we sent out our brochures as well of the restaurant with the deliveries. So all our details are there, our menu is there, phone number is there. If you misplace it, you can check us out on the creatives.co.za, where all the information and contacts are there.
Just a last word from me, Wandile. Thank you. I'm blown away by your story, your passion, your attention to detail, and I'm coming to see you very soon, hopefully next weekend.
Wonderful. Thanks,
Perfect.
Karen, and thanks, Wandile. We absolutely enjoyed your food. We had the most beautiful comments from guests and from clients that attended. We appreciate your effort and your media presence for us in this Zoom call, because we know you like to be in the kitchen and not on screen. But we appreciate that, and thank you everyone for joining us. It was lovely having you there, and thank you for all your questions and answers that you asked. We hope to do it soon again. Thank you. Bye-bye.